Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be comparing a Ram 1500 Laramie to a Chevy Silverado High Country. This is a continuation of our like pricing comparisons. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Doug Smith Chevy here in Spanish Fork and the Ram here in Spanish Fork for giving me some time with both of the trucks. I'll include a link to both their inventories in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood of the Ram, we have a naturally aspirated 5.7 liter Hemi V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 22 on the highway, with power outputs being 395 horsepower and then 410 pound-feet of torque. Under the hood of the High Country, we have the 3.0 Duramax as paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 23 around town and then 27 on the highway, with power outputs being 305 horsepower and then 495 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the Ram, you guys can see that we've got the venting here on the hood with this night edition package. It also blacks out the grille and the headlights. You can see it makes the bumper body painted, so it gives this truck a very sporty design. Now with the High Country, it goes more for the luxury appearance. That's why you've got a lot of the brushed finish on the trim. And then you guys can see this actually has tow hooks, whereas the Ram does not, interestingly enough. But let me know which theme you like more. Obviously not the most comparable when it comes to themes because you got like luxury versus sporty looks, but there you go. Now around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 285, 45, 22 in the front and over in the rear. And you guys can see with the wheels completely blacked out, satin black to be more specific. And then no fender flares, interestingly enough. We do have the Ram badge also blacked out. You got the side steps, mirror caps blacked out. And then here is your full side view with this Night Edition Laramie. And then with the Chevy, our tire wheel setup is 275, 60, 20 in the front and over in the rear. And you can see with the wheels, you got the silver mixed with the metallic gray. All-terrain tires, no fender flares, just like the Ram. High Country there, and then you can see the chrome accenting, and then we got fixed side steps with this as well. And then I forgot to mention this when I did the full side view, so I'll talk about the rear suspension in a second. So with the Ram, we have a multi-link setup, whereas with the Silverado, we have traditional leaf springs. Now when it comes to key fob functionality, as you can see, it's the same with both the trucks, they just look a little bit different. Now popping into the bed of the Ram, we don't really have anything too crazy happening in here, pretty straightforward. And then with the tailgate, it's light. And then popping over to the Silverado, we've got protection from the factory, we've got LED lights, we've got an outlet, so quite a bit more. And the cool thing is the tailgate also automatically raises up with the Silverado. And then when it comes to the rest of the rear design, the Silverado is kind of more boxy, whereas the Ram, things are a little bit more rounded off. But again, you notice the theme with all of the chrome on the Silverado versus the Ram that's all blacked out. Now in the back of the Silverado, legroom is great. Got a little storage pocket, got this nice wood trim, then you guys can see all the soft touch with the stitching and everything that goes throughout. Some cup holders here, you got heated seats, vents, all that. And then with the High Country, really cool look with the seats. Also, we do have the storage here with it as well. And then headroom, it's good. Now the Ram has a ton of legroom just like the Silverado, and we also have the ice buckets with the Ram. You can see the darker trim here, and then notice with the heated seats, and we got the USBs and all of that. And here's the seats in the Laramie, pretty nice look. And then headroom, it's good. And then here's the door panel with the design and the trim and all of that. And, ooh, start her up. So while that's starting up, you can see the front door panel here, just as nice as the back. And then it says High Country right there. And notice windows are automatic, which is cool. Mirrors power fold in, they also have blind spot monitoring. And then this does have an advanced four-wheel drive system. As you can see, a bunch of light controls, heads-up display, which is another nice feature. Big digital gauge cluster here, and then again, we can pop through some of those drive modes. Sorry about that with the sun. It's pretty awful. And then you can see with the steering wheel, the pretty normal design. We do happen to have adaptive cruise control with this and the heat steering function there. And then something that I think is really cool with this truck is the 360 camera system. So you can see it of every single angle with the truck, which is great. And then as for the rest of the infotainment system, here we'll quickly get through this menu. It's easy to use. You can see it responds pretty well. It's got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. And we have a bunch of physical buttons down below. You can see for the lane departure, parking sensors, auto stop, start, tailgate, drop down, and raise. Your stability control, hill descent control, that's to roll down all the windows at once. Trailer brake controls, and then we have our dual zone climate controls with the heated and ventilated seats. And then the shifter here with the kind of center console area. Wireless phone charging pad. Very nice trim here, and then you can see the padding on the dash too. It's another thing. And look at the glove box with the wood trim. That's nice. And yeah, it opens up both ways. And then we do have a camera rear view mirror, and then power sliding window with this truck. And as equipped, this sticker is for $71,405. This is the High Country. Now, before we move on to the next feature, we need to talk about today's video sponsor, Morgan & Morgan. Now, believe it or not, the modern world is actually a pretty treacherous place. Every single time you go out for a drive, there's a chance that you could get into an accident. You could be walking in front of a business, they could have something on the ground, and you could slip and fall and hurt yourself. And on top of that, you could just be doing your job, right? Like you always do, and something could happen and you could sustain a major injury. This is a topic that's very important to me personally because I drive about 40,000 miles per year for the channel. And so there are a lot of situations that I'm put in on a day-to-day basis where accidents almost happen. Now, knock on wood, nothing's happened for years, but there's always the chance that something could happen. And this is where Morgan & Morgan comes into play. They are America's largest injury law firm with over 100 offices, over 800 lawyers, and over 4,000 case staff that are all ready to help you out. And one of the best parts about working with Morgan & Morgan is that things like the negotiations, the court hearings, and the research associated with putting together a case are all free unless you win. And so if you're involved in some kind of personal accident, whether it be a car accident, a slip and fall accident, or an accident at the workplace, then you might want to get help from Morgan & Morgan. And on a little bit of a side note, don't feel bad about hiring an attorney. Remember that you're suing the insurance company that is worth billions upon billions of dollars. They can more than pay for the compensation that you deserve. So if you are injured in an accident, then you can check out Morgan & Morgan at www.forthepeople.com/Ben Hardy, or you can give them a call at pound 529. That is pound law. Again, www.forthepeople.com/Ben Hardy or pound law. And got to start up the Ram. So you can see the door panel here in the front with the Ram. All of your window controls on this front two are automatic. You got your power folding mirror function, memory seats, blind spot monitoring with the mirrors. No adaptive cruise control, just regular cruise control here with the steering wheel, interestingly enough. We got a big digital gauge cluster with this night edition, just like what you have there with the, well, not just like the Silverado, but digital gauge cluster nonetheless, if you guys are wondering. And then in reverse, you guys can see we've got just a regular backup camera, no 360 with this particular one. And then this has the 12-inch display, so you got analog climate controls on either side. It does take a second for some of the menus to load up, but pretty easy to use overall. Heated and ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, all of that. You can see for the parking sensors, tow hold, stability control. And this is cool, dial shifter, right? And then we do have an advanced four-wheel drive system just like the Silverado. Now I will say, I think Ram still wins in the center console department, way more usable. Also, we got a wireless phone charging pad. But yeah, just cool practicality. Soft touch on the dash, just like Silverado. And then you see the glove box says Laramie. Got good storage overall, and then power sliding window as well. Kind of a bit of glare, but anyways, $71,055 is the price for the Ram, so only about a $400 price difference roughly. Well, we're gonna start off in the Ram Laramie, and then we'll go to the Silverado second. And yeah, it seems like you guys really like this pricing comparison series, so I'm gonna keep going with it because I enjoy it. It's like, this is honestly how I personally think when I compare cars. I don't go, oh, this, you know, like for example, some people are gonna be like, Ben, the real comparison would be Longhorn versus High Country. Theme wise those compare, but price wise they don't. And yeah, so I'm always price to price when it comes to comparing. So yeah, I don't know, I enjoy it. It makes filming a little bit more exciting for me. But anyways, with the Ram, the multi-link, you know, keeps you nice and planted, so you've got that feel there. And yeah, suspension's comfortable. I mean, this does drive like a luxury vehicle. It does a really good job at that. And yeah, I know this is a weird test driving route, but this is what we're going with in today's video. And then the other thing with the Ram, it's independent suspension in the front. This Silverado has the same thing. But yeah, it makes it so the turn in and everything is pretty good overall. Love the torque from the 5.7 Hemi, by the way. It'd be interesting to see, you know, the comparison with the diesel. I'll get a real acceleration up here in just a moment. We'll just get past this little area here. Okay, we'll get on it now. Hemi power, am I right? Am I right? It moves. It's got good power. So, all in all, the Ram is comfortable. It's got good Hemi power. And when I say comfortable, it's the suspension, the seats, all of it. It's comfortable. And this is a pretty nice interior. The Laramie is no slouch when it comes to interior niceties. So with that being said, let's go compare this to the High Country. So, setting off in the Silverado High Country, back to back with the Ram. Surprisingly, the seat, so Chevy's kind of known for having, like, you know, a little bit harder seats, but surprisingly, the seats are equally comfortable, I'd say. They're both pretty dang good. The Ram seats did seem a little bit bigger, maybe the bolstering was higher, that's for sure. So, a little bit different. Interestingly enough, the textures inside are very similar between these. They both go for like the rougher textured leather. Well, the Ram, I'm pretty sure most of it's fake leather. But anyways, diesel's definitely a different experience. Like the sounds of it, and it's got good torque, obviously. Yeah, with the Ram, you kind of get into the throttle a little bit more. With this, you don't get into the throttle as much, so it's a different driving experience. Very smooth. I will say that you can tell a difference between the multi-link setup and the Ram in the back and the leaf springs in this. This isn't quite as planted as the Ram. It's comfortable, but I'd say the Ram still feels a little bit more comfortable than the Silverado. Heck, I love that torque from the diesel. You just barely get into it. Excuse me. It just moves very well. Turn-in seems to be... I accidentally pressed adaptive cruise control. Whoops. But yeah, turn-in seems to be pretty similar. So, not too shabby. Yeah, I really do like the torque with this diesel. So good acceleration, and then we'll cap things off. Digging trenches. Must be fun. Okay, get into it here. You know, surprisingly, like, you'd think it would feel quite a bit slower because it has like almost 100 less horsepower, 90 less horsepower to be exact. Not really. It's got so much torque that it makes up for the lack of horsepower and the turbocharged nature, right, and the diesel nature. Anyways, to cap things off, you know, I'm gonna have to give the win to the Silverado in this comparison. And the reason why I'm gonna have to, so like, I remember so I did the Bighorn and the, what was it, the Bighorn and the RST, and I think the Bighorn won that comparison. So it's interesting that on the higher end, so on the lower end, Ram seems to be winning, but on the higher end, Chevy seems to be winning. And it seems like there's just not as big of a price difference between a fully loaded Chevy and a fully loaded Ram, if that makes sense. Or sorry, fully loaded Chevy and a base model Chevy. Seems like their pricing is a lot closer than Rams. But anyways, yeah, this just looks like a bit of a better value. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how else to put this. It's got more features for the same amount of money. So, and it's got a diesel. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know which one you personally would go with. But I think that I lost my parking space. I think that the High Country wins this comparison.